Bayan Muna Party List Representative Carlos Zarate says the Makabayan bloc is still waiting for talks with Vice President Leni Robredo as the group has yet to throw its support to a particular presidential aspirant. Zarate says the Makabayan bloc's processes should be respected as he denied former Senator Antonio Trillanes' claim that the group does not support Robredo's bid. He says all groups under the Makabayan coalition should be consulted before it decides on who to support in the upcoming polls. Zarate adds the coalition is also in talks with Senator Manny Pacquiao and Manila Mayor Isko Moreno, who are also both running for president. Makabayan bloc Senatorial bet Neri Colmenares trended on social media recently as netizens call for his inclusion in Robredo's senatorial slate. Joining us now is the former Makabayan Party List Representative Neri Colmenares. Attorney Neri, magandang gabi po sa inyo. So parang there are two issues here, yung ang inclusion or non-inclusion po ninyo so far sa slate ni Vice President Leni Robredo at ni Senator Kiko Pangilinan, senatorial slate by the way, and the non-declaration or ang Makabayan hindi pa rin pumipili na kung sino ang kanilang or inyong presidential bet. But let's first begin with this, sir, yung unang issue doon. For some reason, kumbaga para bang people don't want the left to forget its past, no? So we've seen several of Leni Robredo's supporters point out on social media that in 1986, for example, nag-boycott pa kayo ng eleksyon. Hindi po kayo sumama doon sa opposition that had the unified slate of Cory Aquino and Doy Laurel as president and VP. And then in 2016, nakipag-alyansa daw po kayo with President Duterte, with several joining his cabinet. Tapos ngayon, para bang out in the cold na naman kayo daw, no? What's going on, no? Bakit parang inuungkat po ito? Bakit nilalabas na naman ito? What's going on in the forces that are supposed to be arrayed against the Duterte and Marcos, the possible Duterte and Marcos team up?
Yes, well, actually, yung 2016, it's been dredged up again. But I would like to express assured yan talaga. We supported Grace po until the very end. So, klaro yan sa amin, no? So, sa akin, hindi dapat iungkatin yan. Pero sige, kung ungkatin man yan, ito ang issue ngayon. We are going to unite sana to oppose the return of the Marcoses and of course President Duterte in Malacanang. It is clear naman, Pia, that we are part of the opposition eh. So I hope na makilala naman ng lahat yan. Marami kaming mga activists and human rights defenders na namatay under President Duterte precisely because he considers us as an opposition, a part of the opposition, at very scathing talaga yung attacks namin sa kanya, and is intolerant of dissent. We know that. So I'm not saying that the other political parties did not suffer death or may mga arrested din sila o posible may mga patay na rin sila. But I'm saying na we are genuinely opposing President Duterte. We did not support President Duterte in 2016. In fact, that is already clear para sa amin. No? If you look at the meeting, the avance of Makabayan in 2016, we said there, right there sa last speech of the election, ano ang gusto nyo? Kamay na bakal or presidenteng may puso? Klaro talaga yung aming decision doon. Now, the fact that some members of Makabayan campaigned for President Duterte should not sana render the entire Makabayan process as parang nag-Duterte na kami. The fact that certain liberal parties, for example, supported Duterte, I wouldn't go to the lengths of saying that Liberal Party went for President Duterte. So sa akin, ganun yung context dyan na titingnan ng lahat.
Yeah.
But in any case, nandito na tayo sa 2022
right now,
and I hope opposition yung mag-unite ng opposition against him.
Oo nga eh. Kasi from the outside, para bang what it looks like, Attorney Neri, is para bang lahat nagtuturuan ba? Kasi ikaw, parang ganun na nangyayari, no?
Yes,
so,
yes.
You know, I wanted to ask you, in your estimation, no, what do you think really is getting in the way of uniting or unifying the opposition against a possible Duterte Marcos? Kasi yun ang, para bang yun ang common, yun ang sinasabi ng apat na na grupo eh. So, if you were to say it in one word, Attorney Neri, ano po ba? What is getting in the way of unity?
Yeah, mahirap sa one word, Pia, di ba? Kasi there are various reasons there, I guess. Hindi mo pwedeng i-sum up.
Yeah.
Pero is it uphill? For a long period of time, Duterte was so very effective in intimidating everybody. Kaya hindi talaga nakabangon ng opposition for a long time. Controlled niya mga LGUs, intimidated yung mga checks and balance institutions, nanghuhuli, may patayan, gano'n. Now, the good thing there is there are efforts to unify the opposition. And the other good thing is nagdi-disintegrate ang Duterte Alliance. May giyera ang hugpong, may giyera with PDP Laban, may giyera within PDP Laban. Ang pro-US at pro-China naglalaban within the Duterte camp. Many of their subalterns are now transferring to other candidates. I guess that's the positive side there also, other than the fact that we're still trying to unify the opposition after all these months.
Yeah, okay. Well, you're pointing to two, well, in a way, sir, external factors, because the disintegration, like you said, of the Duterte alliances with so many groups, and then the Duterte administration going after going after all these critics of his, no? But what is it within? Kasi syempre may external at may internal din
Yes.
Ano po ba yung problema? May internal There is something within itong apat na grupo, pati yung sa inyo, that is preventing this. What is it?
Well, President Leni Robredo tried to talk to the other opposition candidates at siguro na nalaman niya kung ano ang dahilan dito. Para sa akin talaga yung mayroong sigurong dahil walang history ng cooperation, yung all the opposition, all those candidates running against the Duterte candidate, siyempre there is the need to magpakilanlanan sila, and I hope magkakaroon ng trust basis din among themselves. Now, mga supporters, I mean, you cannot control your supporters, but ang palagi kong sinasabi, ang mga candidates themselves, they should not be swayed by the voices sa social media. If they want to unite, they should do that. Is that possible still? Well, it's more difficult now. Nagsasagutan na yung mga presidential candidates. But I would like to think na sana somewhere along the way, they will realize that only one of them can win. And only one of them can, if therefore, they should support the other who can win. Diba? Duterte will be very vindictive if he wins. He will go after all opposition candidates na lumaban sa kanya if he returns to Malacanang.
Yeah, well, I like how you're so positive about this, parang sinasabi po ninyo, somewhere down the road you will unify.
Yeah.
But sandali lang po, Attorney Neri, kanina sabi po ninyo, President Leni Robredo, or did you say Vice before you said President? Nag-slip of the tongue po ba kayo? Or, did I hear you right?
No. I meant Vice President Robredo.
You meant Vice President, but you said President.
I meant Vice President. Sorry about that.
Okay, pero what are you saying? Siya na po ba yung pinili ninyo ng Makabayan? Or siya na ba yung napupusuan ninyo? Kasi may ganyan sir. Yun na yan, slip of the tongue, ganon.
No. Yeah, slip of the tongue yun. Kasi Vice President, ano lang yun, slip of the tongue. Klaro ang aming pronouncement yan. Wala pa kaming pinipili na kandidato sa ngayon. In fact, si Vice President Leni, we've been wanting to talk to her for some time to discuss issues and platforms. Unfortunately, it failed for some reasons. But we're still hopeful at sinabi niya that slot is still open at yung issue ng platform very important.
Okay.
Pia, I'd like to stress lang, the issue of platform is very important for us because we have constituencies. Now, inclusion in the slate is part lang yan, 50% lang yan. But it's not merely what is in it for me. It is also what is in it for the people.
Yeah.
So we need to go to our members and say, well, this candidate believes in land reform or believes against contractualization siya or whatever. And it's very important crucial sa amin yung ganung discussion. And because we have not talked with the Vice President, hindi kami makadecide sa ngayon.
Okay. So inclusion in the slate, let's leave it for a little later in the show, no? But I wanted to ask about itong yung sinasabi po niyo, you have to go back to your people and explain kung ano ba yung platform nito, ganito ganyan, no? So ang isang issue dito is yung mga makakasama mo sa slate. Meron po ba kayong ayaw makasama sa slate na para bang as far as you're concerned, non-negotiable. I'm not gonna take it kung kasama ito si so or so, so and so sa slate. Pero po ba kayong ganon or you're not going to be choosy?
In the first place, when Vice President Robredo excluded me from her announced slate, my position and our position has been, it's her prerogative. It's the prerogative of the presidential candidate to choose their senator. I don't think it's in my place to tell her what to do, di ba? So maybe I could agree or disagree with some of the slate, but in the end, it's her choice. So I don't think I will intervene doon sa kanyang slate and say, tell her. Now, supporters and other allies and so on of President Leni Robredo, of course, they have all the right to speak. But me, as I would be presumptuous probably to say na, oy, pag mapili ako dyan, ayoko ng ganyan, ayoko ng ganyan. Secondly, and more importantly, dapat ang stress na natin dito, unification of the opposition. Hindi pwedeng magtirahan na, ayoko niyan. It will create more dissension. Tatawanan tayo ni Duterte at ni Marcos dito eh. So para sa akin, mas yun ang focus siguro. And let the president or the presidential candidate, whoever, I mean, Isko and Senator Manny and Lenny, to decide kung sinong senatorial candidates nila. Prerogative nila yan. And I don't think I will say that to Leni Robredo about her slate.
Okay, marami pa po tayong tanong para sa inyo, Attorney Neri Colmenares, senatorial aspirant. We're going to get to that in just a bit. So welcome back to CNN Philippines. Still with us is Makabayan senatorial aspirant Neri Colmenares. Attorney Neri, there are a few candidates on the slate of VP Leni Robredo who have, to say it very mildly, have reservations about you. What do you think of that? For example, Sani Trillanes.
Well, when we were informed by the camp of Vice President Leni Robredo about more than 2 weeks ago that there were objections, and we were informed it was Senator Trillanes. I didn't raise it. We didn't raise it anytime. Even after her exclusion of me in her announcement 2-3 days ago, when I said, it's her prerogative, I didn't mention about the objections because I had no intention, really, Pia, of diverting the issue towards that. Anybody in the senatorial slate probably would have all the right to say no or yes to that one. It's up for the Vice President to decide. Now, so sa akin, ang unity ng opposition is more important now, and that is the prerogative of the Vice President again, if she listens to the part of her senatorial slate or not. If she listens, then again, wala naman ako magawa doon, di ba? But if she believes in that the Makabayan can help, our national machinery can help, our 3.5 million voter base can help, our poll watchers can help, our social media warriors can help, then so be it. Then we will be very happy. What is clear, we want to defeat Duterte and Marcos here. So whether we're part of any slate or not, we will pursue this endeavor to make sure that they are not in Malacanang in 2022.
So you're willing to set aside all these differences. I mean, I can't help but say, it sounds so refreshing. It sounds so strange to hear you talk this way. Although you've always had this very malumanay tone of voice.
Yeah, I'd like to add there, Pia, this election is really very different from the other elections. This is survival na ito nating lahat ang at stake dito. We cannot have another 6 years of this kind of COVID response. We cannot have another 6 years of pinamimigay ang ating mga yamang dagat sa China. We cannot have that. So this is the survival at stake. So iba ang requirements sa lahat na yon. At sinasabi ko sa mga kasama namin na kahit we can demand from the candidates to unite, but we must also show among ourselves that we unite. How can we unite the candidates if we show among ourselves that we don't unite, diba? So we don't have the moral authority to impose on them the unities if we ourselves cannot have unity. So I'd like to focus on that because Duterte will probably win if we continue bickering at each other. So I'm not, call me eternal optimist, but I think there will still be the chance that people will realize that this is survival of the Filipino people is at stake, and we will unite no matter what because we want to defeat Duterte and Marcos in 2022.
Yes. Okay, well, Attorney Neri, you mentioned the pandemic and China, for example. I have a question about this health crisis. No, if you were to have a say, let's say there is the president who is elected is on your side, and you get elected to the Senate. How would you want to have the health crisis managed differently? I know you are a lawyer and you can out-talk anyone, but there, baka you can summarize that.
Free
Less than a
healthcare,
minute.
free healthcare, very important. Kaya ng gobyerno ba tustusan ang libreng gamot at libreng paggamot? I believe so. Kung kaya natin mangako ng free tuition, we can do free healthcare sa lahat without any qualms. Pag pumunta ka sa ospital, libre hospitalisasyon, libre konsultasyon, libre operasyon. And we can do that. Secondly, ang COVID response natin must not only be vaccine-centered. It must also focus on contact tracing. It must also focus on mass testing. Because unless we do these things, hindi paulit-ulit lang yung COVID, di ba? So, bakuna is very important, very good, but we also need these other aspects ng COVID response, which Duterte is not doing. And I don't believe in the loan-generated kind of COVID response ng utang na hindi naman ang mamamayang Pilipino magbabayad dyan. He's borrowed 2.6 trillion last year, is going to borrow 3 trillion last year. Saan napunta yung perang yon? Maraming hindi nakatanggap ng ayuda. So, yung ayuda would be very important din, Pinky. Sorry, lawyer of me to talk longer than I should.
Yeah,
Yes.
I know. Attorney Neri, yes or no questions na lang po, no explanation, yes or no. First, do you favor easier public access to the SALN of the President, Vice President, members of Congress, Senators, Congressmen? Yes or no?
Yes, access dapat sa public. Makabayan has always issued our SALNs publicly.
Okay. Okay, sir, wala na pong explanation. Do you support lifting foreign ownership limits in the Constitution? Yes or no? I think I know what you're going to say. Do you favor the reimposition of the death penalty for drug-related crimes? Yes or no?
No.
Should the sitting president be allowed to run for VP in the next... Should the sitting president be allowed to run for VP in the next election, although President Duterte hasn't filed the COC? Okay, no. Do you favor resuming peace talks with communist rebels? Yes or no?
Yeah.
It's a yes.
Yes. Peace is important.
And lastly, should the country be more aggressive in protecting its maritime interests in the West Philippine Sea? Yes or no, sir?
Yes, very much. We should be more aggressive than now.
Attorney Neri Colmenares, thank you, sir, very much for joining us tonight here on Newsnight on Up Close. Salamat po, sir.
Maraming salamat.